In a small, bustling city, where appearances and wealth seemed to dictate people's destinies, the paths of Zhao Yimeng and Li Zifeng crossed. Yimeng was known for her dazzling beauty, always draped in designer clothes and surrounded by an air of superiority that made her stand out. Her motto was clear: true love didn't exist, but wealth ensured a carefree life. At the other end of the spectrum, Li Zifeng led a modest life as a security guard, working long hours in a corporate building. His worn uniform and quiet demeanor didn't make him stand out among the others, but his heart was full of nobility. It all began when Li Zifeng, in a moment of courage, decided to confess his feelings to Zhao Yimeng. He had observed her from afar for months, fascinated not only by her appearance, but also by a spark of vulnerability he saw behind her haughty facade. One rainy day, as Yimeng struggled to protect herself from the downpour under an inadequate umbrella, Zifeng mustered the courage to offer her his help. "Can I walk you to your taxi?" he asked with a shy smile. However, Yimeng's response was blunt and humiliating. "A guard like you?" "Not in my darkest dreams," she replied with a cold laugh as she walked away, leaving Zifeng soaked and hurt. For her, the feelings of a man like Zifeng had no place in her world of luxury. What she didn't know was that behind that simple facade was a man with a secret that could change everything. In the following days, Zifeng didn't let the rejection discourage him. He continued to work diligently, not allowing Yimeng's words to extinguish his innate kindness. Meanwhile, she focused on finding a suitor who met her high financial standards. At a high society party, she met Meng Ziqian, a young businessman who seemed to have everything she desired: money, prestige, and connections. Convinced that she had found her ideal partner, Yimeng began to dedicate her time and attention to winning over Ziqian. However, what Yimeng didn't know was that Meng Ziqian was not who he appeared to be. Although he held a prominent position, he was nowhere near as wealthy as he let on. His luxurious lifestyle was supported by debts and carefully constructed appearances. Meanwhile, Zifeng, observing from the shadows, couldn't help but feel hurt to see her give herself to someone who was not genuine. Fate played its hand when, one night, during a party at the building where Zifeng worked, a charity event was organized that both Yimeng and Ziqian attended. Zifeng was assigned to security at the main entrance. In an unexpected turn, Yimeng and Ziqian had a disagreement in front of the guests. He, tired of maintaining his facade, revealed his true financial situation. Embarrassed and furious, Yimeng left the party, accidentally bumping into Zifeng. "Why are you looking at me like that? Do you enjoy seeing me fall?" she snapped with venom in her voice. But Zifeng, far from wanting revenge, offered her a word of comfort. "It's not money that defines you, but how you face difficult moments." Yimeng, incredulous at his calm and wisdom, did not respond and simply walked away. Although Zifeng knew that Yimeng was not yet ready to recognize the value of simple things, deep down he still believed in her potential to change. The spark of vulnerability he had seen in her still shone, and he was determined to show her that true wealth is not always measured in gold. As the days went by, Zhao Yimeng, determined to find the perfect man, had focused all her attention on Meng Ziqian. Although their recent discussions had been uncomfortable, Yimeng was not willing to give up her dream of marrying a rich man and securing a life of luxury. It was then that Ziqian, in an attempt to save face and gain the admiration of others, organized a lavish wedding for both of them. Yimeng was delighted, thinking that her plan to become the wife of a wealthy man would finally come true. The news of Yimeng's wedding quickly reached Li Zifeng, who, despite his feelings for her, could do nothing but observe from a distance. However, fate had already begun to plot an unexpected surprise. Among the wedding guests was Wei Wei, a simple and hard-working young woman who had met Zifeng at the building where they both worked. Wei Wei had always shown interest in him, admiring his humility and character. Although she had never dared to confess it, she had decided to attend the wedding to support a colleague she had known for a long time, Zifeng. The wedding day arrived, and the event was as ostentatious as Yimeng had imagined. The hall was decorated with luxurious floral arrangements, and the guests wore their finest attire. Yimeng wore a custom-designed dress, with diamonds that glittered under the light of the chandeliers. Everything seemed perfect on the surface, but beneath this fairy tale facade hid tensions that would soon come to light. During the ceremony, as the bride and groom exchanged vows, a mysterious guest rose from his seat. This man, a respected businessman in the city, took the microphone and revealed that Meng Ziqian had been lying about his fortune to impress Yimeng and others. The room fell silent as all eyes turned to Ziqian, who could not deny the accusations. Yimeng's humiliation was palpable. Her dream of marrying a rich man crumbled in front of everyone present. Zhao Yimeng, furious and ashamed, ran out of the hall. Outside, under the dim light of the street lamps, she came face to face with Li Zefeng, who had witnessed everything from afar. "Did you come to make fun of me?" she yelled, with tears in her eyes. But Zefeng, instead of doing so, simply said, "Sometimes, what we pursue so fervently is not what we really need." At that moment, Wei Wei appeared, having followed Zefeng outside. Seeing the interaction between the two, Yimeng perceived for the first time the special connection between them. Wei Wei, with her warmth and sincerity, represented the opposite of Yimeng's superficial ambition. To her surprise, she felt a pang of envy, noticing how Zefeng looked at Wei Wei with a tenderness that he had never had for her. That night, the wedding ended abruptly, and the guests left the venue with murmurs and whispers about the scandal. But for Zefeng and Wei Wei, that event marked the beginning of something new. Although Zefeng's heart still held memories of his unrequited love for Yimeng, Wei Wei's honesty and kindness began to touch him in a way he had never felt before. Meanwhile, Yimeng locked herself in her luxurious apartment, facing for the first time the consequences of her obsession with status. The wedding experience left her reflecting on her choices and wondering if she had been looking in the wrong places. Thus, the outcome of the wedding became a turning point, not only for Yimeng but also for Zefeng and Wei Wei. Fate had begun to chart a new path, full of revelations and unexpected opportunities for everyone involved. After the disastrous outcome of the wedding, Zhao Yimeng's life took a drastic turn. Her world, built on appearances and expectations, began to crumble. Rumors about Meng Ziqian's false wealth spread quickly, dragging her along in a whirlwind of criticism and humiliation. For the first time, Yimeng found herself alone without the admiration or respect she used to receive, facing a harsh truth. Her value in society was based solely on the superficial connections she had cultivated. On the other hand, Li Zefeng continued with his daily life, but with a new focus. Although he continued to play his role as a security guard, his true identity was beginning to emerge. Behind that humble facade hid the CEO of one of the most influential corporations in the city. He had decided to keep his position hidden, to assess who valued him for who he really was, not for his wealth or power. Wei Wei, unaware of his true position, continued to support him and share small, everyday moments that strengthened their bond. The change in the dynamic between Yimeng, Zefeng, and Wei Wei became evident when Yimeng, in a desperate attempt to regain some stability, decided to look for a job at the same company where Zefeng and Wei Wei worked. Although the idea of accepting a modest position went against everything she stood for, she didn't have many options. However, the decision was not without ulterior motives. Yimeng had begun to notice something special between Zefeng and Wei Wei, and her pride would not allow her to accept that he could find happiness with someone like Wei Wei. When Yimeng arrived for her first day of work, she came face to face with Wei Wei, who welcomed her with kindness despite the tensions of the past. But the real shock occurred when Yimeng saw Zefeng interact with Wei Wei. The warmth and complicity between the two was evident, something Yimeng had never experienced in her superficial relationships. Although she didn't want to admit it, she began to question whether she had underestimated Zefeng all this time. As the days went by, Yimeng tried to adapt to her new work environment. However, her attempts at reconciliation with Zefeng were clumsy and full of regret. On more than one occasion, she tried to strike up a conversation with him, but always found a barrier. The honesty and kindness with which she had once rejected Zefeng could not be recovered so easily. On the other hand, Wei Wei, although disconcerted by Yimeng's presence, decided to stay out of it and focus on her work and her growing relationship with Zefeng. A turning point occurred when Yimeng, in an effort to prove her worth, took on an important project at the company. However, without the experience or humility to learn from others, her mistakes began to accumulate. It was Zefeng who, secretly, helped to correct the problems before they became a major disaster. When Yimeng discovered what he had done, she felt humiliated but also deeply grateful. For the first time, she began to see Zefeng as more than just a simple guard. Meanwhile, Weiwei began to notice Zefeng's dedication to Yimeng, which aroused insecurities in her heart. Although she trusted Zefeng's sincerity, she feared that feelings from the past could still affect their relationship. This insecurity was exacerbated when Yimeng, in an attempt to regain control, confessed that she still felt something for Zefeng. The revelation left everyone in an uncomfortable position. Zefeng, although surprised, made it clear that his feelings had changed. Weiwei was the one who now occupied his heart. However, in an unexpected twist, Yimeng accidentally discovered Zefeng's true identity. Instead of facing the fact with gratitude or maturity, she decided to use that information to recover what she believed was hers. She confronted Zefeng in private, demanding an explanation. "Why did you hide who you are? Did you want to humiliate me? To prove that I'm not good enough for you?" Zefeng, remaining calm, replied, "I wanted to see who would value my character, not my money." That exchange marked a change in Yimeng. For the first time, she began to reflect deeply on her priorities and her mistakes. However, she still faced an internal struggle between the desire to redeem herself and the envy of the happiness that Zefeng had found with Weiwei. The story was beginning to turn towards its climax, with all the characters at a critical point in their lives. Would Yimeng accept change and find her own redemption? Would Weiwei and Zefeng overcome the trials that fate put before them? Only time would reveal the answers. With the revelation of Li Zefeng's true identity, the precarious balance that the characters maintained was completely broken. Zhao Yimeng, overwhelmed by the mix of regret and envy, tried to use her discovery as a tool to recover what she had lost. However, the connection between Zefeng and Weiwei continued to strengthen, grounded in mutual respect and authenticity. The stage was set for a series of conflicts that would test everyone involved. News of the romance between Zefeng and Weiwei reached the ears of Zefeng's mother, a strong-willed woman who had worked her whole life to build the family's legacy. When she learned that her son was considering formalizing a relationship with a young woman of humble origins, her first reaction was one of rejection. For her, Zefeng should marry someone who was up to the social and economic position of the Gu family. Although Weiwei was sincere and hardworking, in the eyes of Zefeng's mother, she did not meet the necessary standards to be part of the family. One day, during a dinner hosted by Zefeng, his mother and Weiwei faced each other for the first time. Weiwei, nervous but determined, tried to make a good impression. However, the conversation quickly became tense when Zefeng's mother began to question her ability to support her son in his role as the family leader. "How can you think you can handle the pressure of this family? You don't even have a last name that resonates in social circles," she said coldly. Weiwei, although hurt by the words, replied calmly, "I don't have an important last name, but I have values and genuine love for your son that cannot be bought or inherited." Zefeng, witnessing the interaction, intervened to defend Weiwei, making it clear that his feelings were not subject to his mother's approval. Meanwhile, Zhao Yimeng, aware of the growing tension, decided to take advantage of the situation. She unexpectedly appeared at a family meeting, feigning interest in reconciling with Zefeng. With tears in her eyes, she declared, "I have always loved you, Zefeng. I made mistakes, but I am here to fix it. We are the same. We belong to the same world." Although her words seemed sincere, Zefeng knew that they were a last desperate attempt to regain a position that she had lost due to her own pride. The moment of greatest tension arrived when Yimeng revealed a supposed pregnancy, implying that Zefeng was the father. The revelation shook everyone present, especially Weiwei, who couldn't help but feel a blow to her confidence. Zefeng, however, denied any possibility of it being true and demanded proof. The truth soon came to light. Yimeng had made everything up in an attempt to divide Zefeng and Weiwei. This lie was the final blow that completely severed any connection Zefeng might have had with Yimeng. On the other hand, Zefeng's mother began to reconsider her position. After witnessing how Weiwei faced adversity with dignity and how Zefeng defended her with firmness, she began to see what her son saw in her. A private conversation between mother and son was the turning point. "I can't impose my expectations on you, Zefeng. If she makes you happy, that's enough for me," she admitted, with some reluctance. However, family reconciliation was not the only challenge. Yimeng, humiliated and desperate, decided to leave the city temporarily, but not without confronting Weiwei. "I hope you value it, because what you have with him is something I never had the courage to build," she said, hinting at a glimmer of self-awareness and regret. The conflict culminated in a family gathering organized by Zefeng, where Weiwei was officially introduced as his partner to all family members. Although not everyone accepted the relationship immediately, Zefeng's support and the respect that Weiwei gradually earned marked the beginning of a new stage for everyone. The battle between family expectations, personal ambitions, and genuine love had reached a hopeful conclusion, but the path to total peace was still full of challenges. The next step would be to prove that true love could overcome any barrier, even those most deeply rooted in traditions and prejudices. Time passed, and the tensions that once separated the protagonists began to fade, giving way to a new era of acceptance and transformation. Li Zefeng and Weiwei, now closer than ever, faced the future with courage, while Zhao Yimeng began to walk her own path toward redemption. This final chapter marked the end of a story full of challenges, discoveries, and true love. With the support of the Gu family, though not without their initial reservations, Zefeng decided to take his relationship with Weiwei to the next level. He planned a simple but meaningful marriage proposal. Instead of opting for extravagance, he chose the place where they had met, the park near the building where they both worked. Under the warm light of the sunset, Zefeng knelt down and said to Weiwei, "I have nothing more valuable to offer you than my heart, but with it I promise you a life full of love and respect." Weiwei's tears of joy were the answer he needed. Meanwhile, Zhao Yimeng, who had left the city for a while, returned transformed. She had spent months reflecting on her mistakes and looking for a way to rebuild her life. Instead of pursuing wealth and status, she began working as a volunteer at a charity organization, helping women in vulnerable situations. This new purpose not only gave her a reason to move forward, but also taught her the true meaning of happiness and gratitude. Zefeng and Weiwei's wedding day arrived with an atmosphere of hope and reconciliation. The ceremony, held in a garden full of flowers, symbolized the simplicity and beauty of true love. Friends, family, and colleagues attended to celebrate the union of a couple who had demonstrated that material wealth does not define the quality of a bond. To everyone's surprise, Zhao Yimeng was also present. Dressed in a discreet but elegant outfit, she approached Weiwei before the ceremony. "I want to apologize to you," she said sincerely. "What you have with Zefeng is something I never valued or understood. I hope you are happy." Weiwei, moved, accepted her apologies, once again demonstrating her generosity and character. During the reception, Zefeng's mother, who had initially been one of the biggest opponents of the relationship, gave an emotional speech. "Today I see my son happy, and that's the only thing I ever wanted. Weiwei, thank you for teaching us all what true love means." Her words marked a moment of unity and acceptance, closing the wounds of the past. Over time, Yimeng found her own path to happiness. Although it wasn't through a marriage full of luxuries, she discovered satisfaction in the work she did and in the genuine connections she had begun to form. Her transformation became a reminder that there is always room for change and redemption. For Zefeng and Weiwei, life together was a journey full of small moments of joy and mutual learning. Although they faced challenges, their love and commitment proved to be unbreakable. Together, they not only built a solid relationship, but also a home where authenticity and respect were the fundamental pillars. The story concluded with a powerful lesson. True love does not depend on appearances, status, or money. It is a force that transcends barriers and blossoms in the hearts that are brave enough to accept it. Thank you for joining us on this incredible story. If you liked it, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss more touching stories like this. Turn on notifications so you're the first to enjoy our next stories. Until next time.